Welcome to Frasier on Film, the Frasier TV show podcast with a twist. Each episode of the podcast visits each episode of Frasier across its 11-series run. But our main focus isn't on the good doctor himself. No. It's going to be one of the guest appearances on the show that week. That could be one of the many A-listers who called into Frasier's KACL radio show, or just someone who made a fleeting appearance at Cafe Nervosa. We'll delve into that actor's backstory, look over their cinematic offerings, and deep dive into one movie specifically. By the end, we'll see if we can make a connection between their character in Frasier and their character in the film we've just talked about. So you'll be hearing about icons and wash-ups, legends and starlets, sherry drinkers and beer guzzlers, blockbusters and B-movies. It's going to be an education in it all. But what if you don't really watch Frasier? That's fine, you'll probably know the actors we're talking about. And if you don't really know the actors we're talking about, then that's fine too. You'll know the movies. So whether you're a fan of Frasier or you're a fan of film, this is the podcast for you. So, pull up your favourite bar stool at McGinty's and tell the wine club you'll be running late, because this is Frasier on Film, and I'm your host, Ben Murray, and you're listening. What if Frasier went a little bit ultra-violent? Hello and welcome back everyone to the latest episode of Frasier on Film and of Frasier itself. This week we tackle the odyssey of Martin's missing chair in Give Him the Chair, which gives us a chance to focus on a behemoth of an actor, certainly a British behemoth, and a legend and an icon of cinema, Malcolm McDowell. And of course, I could have tried to play it really cute here and pick some sort of abstract film. Maybe I could have gone If, maybe I could have gone one of Rob Zombie's Halloween films where McDowell starred as Loomis, but come on, let's be honest, there was only one film we were going to do today, and that film is in a certain shade of orange. It's a Clockwork Orange that we are focusing on. And I am delighted to be joined today by my friend and fellow podcaster, Justin Webb. Justin of the Record Rotations podcast. How are you, sir?
Hello, Ben. I'm good. How's it going?
It's going very well. I saw you just yesterday. I'm the same as I was yesterday. Justin, listen, welcome. This is reciprocal because you invited me on to the very first episode of your podcast, which was a great honor, Record Rotations. Tell the folks a little bit about Record Rotations.
Sure. We're a music-based podcast where each week I have a guest on who brings an album that they think is an essential listen. Ben brought on a System of a Down album called Mesmerize.
Did indeed.
Yeah, I recommend it. Check it out. And then we go through the history of the album. We go through the songs track by track, and at the end I decide if I think it is essential or not. So I won't spoil it if anyone wants to listen to the episode with Ben in.
It's a great listen, and I'm not just talking about my episode, but the premise is great because even if you haven't heard the album, you clip up the songs ahead of talking about each track. Yeah. So if you are familiar with the album, get you back in the headspace, and if you're not, you get a little taste of what you're talking about. What would you say is you don't have to say mine, what's been your favourite episode to recorded so far?
Oh, there's been a few. Yours is definitely yours was great because it was the first time I'd ever done anything to do with a podcast. And I think we had some genuinely quite insightful takes, especially your takes on some of the lyrics for the songs.
My goodness, I know.
They were quite rogue, but they were interesting. So that's definitely one of my favorites. I've done one as well recently that I'll be releasing on a Beach Boys album called The Smile Sessions. By far the longest episode. It went on for 2 hours, 20 minutes. But it's got a crazy history and it's super, super, super experimental. And it's one of those albums that never got released at the time.
Wow.
And if it did, I think it would have changed the face of pop music as we know it. So that was really cool to dig into. Yeah.
That's your second Beach Boys album that you've covered on the show.
It is, yeah. I'm a big fan. And it turns out I actually just put something on my story to see if anyone wanted to talk about this album specifically. So it's the first one that I actually picked because usually the guest picks.
Nice.
This guy reached out and said it's his favorite album of all time. So we went for it, and it was good. It was fun.
It's really fantastic. And obviously, people say, well, who's this guy qualified to determine if a album is worthy of greatest of all time? But you're a singer-songwriter as well.
Yeah,
a very good one.
I'm qualified. Yeah, sure. Yeah, no, I'm a songwriter as well myself. Not that means I can necessarily qualify to talk shit on people's music, but hey, most of it's been good so far. Everyone's been picking great albums, so I've really not had to critique much of it. But yeah.
Well, listen, if anyone's listening, drop in on any of the episodes. They're all superb. Go and check them out. I particularly enjoyed the Arctic Monkeys, the car one recently, because that is a tricky wicket of an album. The conversation was superb. I told you that as much as I like Arctic Monkeys, that was one of the few gigs I had to walk out on because
that's crazy. That's just crazy. You can't walk out on that.
He does not. He just does not. All right, we're getting sidetracked already, but this is fine. He just does not sing live. I mean, you've obviously seen the clips, but he doesn't perform anything like he does on the studio albums, and it's impossible to enjoy the songs because they just don't even sound the same.
Yeah, I get you. He kind of takes the piss. Like, I feel like he's just testing people with the new live performances, like crooning fluorescent adolescent and stuff like that. Yeah. It's strange.
In theory, I like the idea. In practice, when you've paid money, it's like, all right, and Justin. Well, okay, all of that to one side. Well, what about Frasier? What's your relationship, if anything, to Frasier, the sitcom?
Yeah, so, I mean, I had not thought about Frasier for a long time, to be honest, until you mentioned this podcast. And I mean, to be honest, I've probably seen every episode at some point in my life. I used to watch it before school. I actually listened to your episode with Paul, and I heard he mentioned the same thing. It's a before school kind of thing in the UK. They obviously just showed it at that time, along with Everybody Loves Raymond. And there was another one called Just Shoot Me. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah. Is that about a magazine, newspaper?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. David Spade, exactly, yeah. Not quite as good as the other two mentioned. But yeah, it was one of those ones before school. So
it's a UK thing. Like, Frasier has got a huge following over here, and obviously it does in America as well. But for some reason, it really resonated with UK audiences, and maybe it's got something to do with them playing it constantly in the mornings every day on Channel 4 back to back. I think it's also the disposition of Frasier and Niles, and maybe because of having someone like Daphne, like, it sort of sings to a British crowd. It is quite British humour. It's the least American sitcom I think I've ever encountered.
Really?
Which is probably why it's done well over here. Yeah. And not to spoil things, certainly don't tell me how you feel, but what's very exciting for me, as I told you off mic, this was your first watch of A Clockwork Orange.
Yeah. I've always kind of meant to watch it. I always wanted to read it first, just never got around to it because there's just so many books to read, right? But my completely fresh. I knew, like, I had a vague idea of what it was about, and of course I'd seen the scene, or a clip of the scene in the cinema, if we call it a cinema. But yeah, I was going into this completely fresh.
So, listeners, I am delighted to find out if Justin disliked this intensely, adored it, or was somewhere in the middle. Probably should preface discussions today for listeners. Justin and I are normally, I would say 95% of the time, very much on the same page about the way the world works and how certain things are. But there is maybe a little 5% that could come up in today's discussion. I don't know. We'll find out. We'll get to that. We'll get to that juicy part. But let's do the light part first. Let's go and revisit this week's episode of Frasier, shall we?
Dad, I don't know why you're carrying on this way. We are, after all, talking about a 25-year-old broken down chair. If you don't like this chair, I'll get you another one. Any chair you want.
Really? All right, I'll tell you what chair I want. I want the chair I was sitting in when I watched Neil Armstrong take his first step on the moon. And when the U.S. hockey team beat the Russians in the '80 Olympics. I want the chair I was sitting in the night you called me to tell me I had a grandson. I want the chair I was in all those nights when your mother used to wake me up with a kiss after I'd fallen asleep in front of the television. You know, I still fall asleep in it. And every once in a while, when I wake up, I still expect your mother to be there ready to lead me off to bed. Oh, never mind. It's only a chair.
Episode title, Give Him the Chair. Air date, 17th of April, 1994. Writer Anne Flett Giordano and Chuck Ramberg and director James Burrows. So in this week's episode of Frasier, long-time fans will be very familiar with Martin's green, ugly, distressingly terrible chair. It is all about Frasier's desire to replace it with something a bit more fashionable, maybe a bit more luxurious, and Martin being devastated when it turns out that his old chair has actually been dropped off by the dumpsters and disappears out of sight. Before we go into some of the details of it, what do you think, Justin?
I enjoyed it. Yeah, I watched it last night. Like I said, I have seen it before. I do remember vaguely some of it.
Yeah.
It was fun. It struck me how I don't remember it being kind of like this camp of a show. Like it feels like some
very camp.
The comedy was kind of camp, and it also made me remember how, in my opinion, how ridiculous Daphne is as a character.
Yes.
I just feel like every word that comes out of her mouth feels like something a normal human being wouldn't actually say.
Yeah. Do you think that's because you've got American writers trying to write British, and they've made her super Mary Poppinsy?
Yeah, so is she British in real life?
She is, but she's like really well spoken.
Okay, because when I was listening to her, I was like, this must be an American, right? Doing like an interpretation of an English person, but interesting.
She's British. She started out running around being chased by Benny Hill in all those old style comedies. Yes, wow. I know.
Luckily she escaped.
I know. But she, like, it's super pronounced in the early seasons, her Mancunian accent. They really heightened it, and then they kind of level it out about halfway through, so she's less... I mean, I kind of like the charm of her being this eccentric character, because they don't go ridiculously into it. She's not super Mary Poppinsy, but it's definitely there. I think it kind of works well because it's so at odds with Frasier's neat, precise, particular ways of living. To have a character like that up against him is like, he would never want someone like that in his life.
Yeah.
So you've seen all of Frasier, which is cool. I didn't realize that you knew it so well. Is there anything from this episode that sort of stands out to you as sort of like an example of something that got better over time? Like, since this was season 1, there was something here that maybe wasn't particularly refined or wasn't very good, or was there something in these early seasons that was like, that was great, I wish they did more of that?
I don't know, because I really can't remember. Like, I definitely have seen probably all the episodes, but it's been literally like since I was probably like 14 or something, which is a long time ago now. But the main thing that struck me as the best part of the episode was actually the acting from his dad.
Oh, superb, man.
Yeah, really good. Like, it for me, and I'm certainly nobody to like critique acting. I know nothing about like film and acting and like any kind of
you know as much as I do, man. You know as much as I do. You're qualified as much as I am.
But he, to me, struck me as the best actor within this. I don't know, but maybe also because he had more emotion to actually deliver in this, so it's kind of easier to get across how good of an actor you are when you actually have something to, really give.
So you're speaking specifically about the bit, I reckon, where he's like, okay, you want to know what chair I want? Exactly. I want the chair that I was blah, blah, blah. I thought Justin isn't going to like that because he's going to think, maybe not necessarily the performance, but what he's saying, because it's very American. It's like, the chair I was in when Neil Armstrong first set foot on the moon, and when the Americans beat the Russians in ice hockey. It was very like, America kind of stuff. And I thought, maybe that will lose Justin because he'll be like, it's all typical traditional American shit.
I think we view America in different ways.
Yeah, we do, mate. We do. And but it's going to come up. It's going to come up a few times today.
But no, I think I didn't necessarily say I liked the lines. I just liked his delivery. It felt really authentic, and like his eyes, they look kind of hollowed out almost when he was saying it. It was really it was really well done.
It's the reason why I love Frasier so much. I've said it before on this podcast. It's one of the few sitcoms that when they try and do emotion, they hit it. Like, they make you feel something more often than not in the majority of the episodes. Kelsey Grammer is very, very, very good at it as well. The emotional resonance, there's something in the eyes, in the face, when they look like they're on the brink of tears. Right. I don't know how they can pull it to the surface so quickly. But him, the dad, John Mahoney, he was like stage trained, did a lot of stuff on Broadway, and it really shows. And funnily enough, he is from Manchester, England.
Oh, no way.
And he's putting on an American accent.
Wow, that's really good. I had no idea.
King of accents there. All right, Justin, I want to ask you, since Martin is so devastated to have lost his chair, because this is something that brings him great comfort, what in your life do you have that would evoke such a emotional response from you if it was lost? What means the world to you, a physical thing?
Oh, man, that's a big question. I have no
Sorry.
idea.
Mate, this is a softball compared to
My
what we got
integrity,
coming.
that's it.
Oh, my
no,
dear, yes.
I don't know. I don't have many physical possessions. My guitar, maybe, I guess.
I
feels
knew
like a
you were going to
cop-out.
say that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if that's even real. I'm not sure if that's the right answer, but I feel like I'm just going to say it.
Your guitar,
I have no idea.
What's your guitar? How long you had it?
I picked, so it's the first guitar I ever brought, so it does have like emotional,
Oh, yeah, see.
symbolism. It was a secondhand guitar. It's called Greg Bennett, the brand, which is I think
Never
pretty
even heard of
unknown.
it.
Yeah, yeah, and I've had it since I moved to London, which was 2017. Yeah,
Mate, that's. I know that you're not the kind of person that assigns like meaning to items and things, but that's a pretty special thing. Like you've had it the whole time you've been in London. That's There's a story behind that. That would be a sad day when you have to put that out to retirement.
no, I agree. Yeah,
I dabbled with getting a guitar. Well, I did. I got a guitar back in 2012, and I had it for like 18 months before I sold it for like cigarettes or something. But it was a Fender Strat, black and white, and I burned brightly with it for a while. I was in love with it, and I'm like, I just do not have the talent. I haven't got the fingers for it, man. Certain people got the fingers to do it. I don't have it.
Surely.
I've moved on to the ukulele now, man. Ukulele is more my bag. I can do a few tunes on the ukulele instead.
That's a really funny pronunciation of ukulele. Ukulele?
What did you? How did you pronounce it?
Ukulele, no?
What did I say?
Ukulele.
Ukulele. Oh, ukulele. Well, actually, you meant to
Either
say
way,
ukulele, right?
Oh, fair. That makes sense.
The Hawaiians got it right.
There you go.
So, in terms of the jokes in the episode, if you had to pick the funniest, what would it be?
See, in all honesty, I didn't really find it that funny.
Oh, look, here comes the heartbreaker.
Do you know what part of that for me is the it's the first time in so long that I've watched something with a laugh track. At the start, I found it so off-putting.
Interesting.
Yeah, I really noticed it. Towards the end, I kind of stopped noticing it, but it's been so long for me since I've watched anything like sitcom-based, I guess.
I wonder why people even started doing that laugh track stuff. Like, obviously, when sitcoms first started, it was like theatre, like mini theatre. So it's like, okay, we've got an audience here, so let's include the fact that people are laughing.
I think one thing is it tricks people into thinking something is funny when they may not necessarily think something is actually funny. Because if you hear other people laughing, you're more likely to join in, and it kind of tells you when to laugh,
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I do like it, though. I like it for what it is. One thing that didn't work. So I like it for what it is because it was time captured. I think pretty much anything that's been made in the last 10, 15 years with a laugh track is odd.
Yeah.
Like you've moved on to things like Always Sunny and Brooklyn Nine-Nine and Parks and Rec, stuff like that doesn't have it. It's different. I don't even, or like Curb Your Enthusiasm, I don't even think of them as sitcoms. They're like a different kind of tier of comedy. But they brought back Frasier. They brought it back to Paramount Plus recently. It's been cancelled now. It had 2 seasons, the revival, and the biggest criticism of it, people who were like fans of the original even and new listeners were like, a laugh track in this day and age just doesn't cut it because it feels so. Oh,
they had the laugh track on it.
Yeah,
wow, okay.
Which is a bold move.
Yeah,
it's a bold move to do that now, and it doesn't really work. I don't mind it so much with the old stuff, but. Can you imagine? The thing is, I do find this episode funny, but I agree. If you remove the laugh track and just have everything happening, it's far less funny. But I don't think that's the fault of the writing. It's because they would have to, the music of the episode would have to change a little slightly. The way that they're dropping their lines and barbs. Like a lot of the funny stuff is kind of like the quick back and forths that happen. You know, when... So my funniest segment, right, probably, is when Niles turns up, drops the bracelet down Daphne's top, and then Frasier comes back, right? It's just a series of silly little one-liners, right? But it makes me laugh. Every one of them makes me laugh.
I get it. Yeah, I think, to be honest, I found it like amusing. I just didn't, but I also don't really laugh at television programs frequently.
You're like Paul. Paul doesn't either.
Yeah, well, TVs or movies. Sometimes TV, more like you've already mentioned, Always Sunny. Things like Always Sunny, Peep Show, stuff like that. I think it's often more cringe humor that I laugh out loud to. You know, I did find it amusing still. Like, I think the best for me was probably the initial phone call, and just his persistence on the phone about Ross. Like, I found that the most amusing thing.
This is a very nice segue, sir. So Justin is talking about Malcolm McDowell, who comes on as Dr. Brugger. Dr. Brugger, who, and I'm very familiar with this episode, and even before going into this, I was like, I don't know who Malcolm McDowell plays. He's fucking Dr. Brugger. He's doing accents over here. Yeah, well, that took me back, because I was like, oh shit, Malcolm McDowell is Dr. Brugger. The slightly creepy... Well, what did you think of the Dr. Brugger thing? I
mean, you know, it's a very brief appearance, right? I mean, I Googled it as well. I was like, who's he playing in this? For a second, I was like, is it this furniture store guy? And then I was like, oh no, it was the phone call at the start. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think it was probably the funniest part of the episode for me.
Yeah. I always thought it was slightly creepy because the joke is, I mean, like modern sensibilities and all that, right? But the joke is, here's this older man who's calling into a radio show and is then asking the producer out live on air. It's a bit cringy. And then the fact that Roz would even be like half interested for a minute, like as if she would.
I know, yeah.
And then it pays off by him being ugly. But I think it's very funny where Malcolm McDowell's like, yes, I enjoy your show also, but I do not agree with most of your assessments.
Same.
And Frasier's like, back to your book.
I think it's nice to see Frasier get put down, to be honest.
Very, very. And again, that's one of the criticisms of this revival, is that Frasier's like the only returning cast member really from the core cast. So like all of the people who were cutting him down to size aren't there anymore. So
anyway, that's strange.
That's a side note anyway. What about, I don't know if you'll recognise, at the end when they had all of the kids in that play, there was a actress there that was one of the extras who actually went on to become a famous actress. Did you recognise her? You may not.
Was it one of the children?
Yeah, one of the girls.
There was a girl there, and I was like, she looks kind of familiar. I didn't look into it or anything though.
It's Brittany Murphy, who was in... This is terrible now. I'm trying to think what she was in off the top. I know she was a voice in King of the Hill, but like to visually recognise her, she was in a lot of 90s stuff. Okay. She's dead now. She was in 8 Mile. Have you seen 8 Mile?
Is that the Eminem thing?
Yes, it is. Have you seen it?
I think it maybe ages ago, yeah. Definitely don't recognise it from that, though.
Well, she was Eminem's girlfriend.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Who then slept with one of the other characters to get back at Eminem. And then anyway, imitation Purple Rain is what 8 Mile is. But both films are very good. Have you seen Purple Rain?
No, I like the album. I only listened to the album for the first time last year, which I know is a sin, but yeah, Justin, great album.
You've got to watch Purple Rain.
Do I have to?
Yes, it's the perfect. It's almost like an extension of the album, man.
Okay, I'll give it a go.
Very good. You want to talk camp?
Great soundtrack, so that's
superb.
Good.
Superb soundtrack. One of the great regrets that I never got to see that guy live. Seeing him live would have been very magic. Anything in this episode in particular that stuck out for you as a negative, like of the time, something that just wouldn't hold up now, or was not something you would see nowadays?
Yeah, I mean, not necessarily. I don't think it's necessarily like it wouldn't hold up now. I don't think it was like offensive or anything, but like the guy who, like, I just think one of the characters was really stupid and like such a ridiculous like kind of stereotype of like a young person. The guy with the long hair who came in to take the chair. Oh, right, yeah. Is he recurring?
No, he's not. He's only in that one episode.
Oh, okay, well, him, I was just like, you're ridiculous. Like, this feels like old
He was
people
like a real
writing
surfer
young
bro.
people. Yeah,
Yeah. Although it did make for a very funny joke from Frasier when he says, "Okay, quickly, I'm sure Beavis is starting to worry where you are." I'm a huge fan of Beavis and Butthead, so that was a spot on joke for me. But yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, very surfer.
Yeah,
He looked like Anthony Kiedis.
Yeah, a little, yeah.
Well, yeah, in terms of the overall episodes from season 1, I think is a pretty strong one. I think I enjoy everything in it up till the point where Frasier has to go and get the chair, because all of that play stuff doesn't really work for me.
Agreed. I lost it a
down.
bit at that point as well.
Yeah. I'm not really interested in that play. I don't think any of the gags are really landing, and him coming out for that, that's all that sort of, oh, here's the bit in the sitcom where someone dresses up in a funny costume and that's the gag type stuff. But overall, I would call it like an 8 out of 10 type of episode. So we talked about Malcolm McDowell. Let us jump to the clip of Dr. Brugger, and then let's talk a little bit about Malcolm McDowell.
I've been an admirer of yours for a long time.
Thank you. I enjoy your show as well.
Really?
Yes, though I do not in most cases agree with your analysis.
Back to your book. Now, we're all very familiar with the changes that occur in the female menopause, but your research indicates...
Excuse me, Dr. Crane, may I say hello to Roz?
Yes, of course.
Hello, Roz.
Hello, Dr. Brugger.
Yes, your research indicates that the reproductive imperative is reawakened in later life, when the man is...
You have a very sensuous voice.
Thank you.
Not you, Ross.
Yes, well, back to male menopause.
Would you perhaps like to go to a movie sometime? Maybe grab a bite?
Well, that would be very... No, thank you very much.
Well, our time has just flown by. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Brugger, and for so vividly proving your point.
You will give Ross my number.
Oh, I think Roz has your number.
All right, so first of all, Justin, Malcolm McDowell, what did that name mean to you, if anything, before we talked about this episode?
Okay, so about 10 minutes ago, when you asked me what the funniest part was, I was trying to remember the guy's name. So I didn't know his name before this.
But you definitely knew, like,
I recognise
Clockwork Orange, but you didn't necessarily know it was him.
Sure, yeah. The thing is, I'm also really terrible with actors' names. So actors or actresses, they completely go over my head for some reason. I don't know why. But I knew his face as an older person. I mean, I knew his face as a younger person as well. Obviously due to Clockwork Orange and seeing like pictures of it and stuff, but I definitely recognize his face as an older person. And before this call, I tried to work out why. I had to look through like his IMDb, but I don't know. I couldn't see anything. So I don't know if it's just that he is just such a recognizable face by now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I couldn't see anything that I'd seen him in as an older man.
He's got such an expressive face as a youngster, but as an older man as well, especially with that shock of white hair. But he appears in so many things. He does a lot of not very good stuff over the last few decades, but he pops up in things like, do you watch South Park?
Yeah.
Okay, so have you ever seen the episode where they do the origin story of Pip, and it's like Great Expectations?
Oh man, yeah, like ages ago, yeah.
Okay, so he's the narrator. He's like, they keep cutting back to the actual guy in the chair reading the story, and it's him doing that.
That's fun.
And have you seen the Rob Zombie Halloween remakes?
No.
Okay. Have you seen any of the Halloween films?
That is the one with Michael Myers, right?
Correct. Greatest horror franchise of all time, buddy. Let me tell you that.
I need to dig into them. I've been watching a lot of horror films recently, and more specifically like 80s, early 90s stuff, because I think that's the best for horror, in my opinion. But
yeah.
No, I've not seen them.
So you haven't seen any Michael Myers films?
I've seen I think I've seen the first one, but it was like ages ago. I think I remember like the first scene, but that's literally it.
So I think that's the best horror film ever made. But in that one, the doctor in it, who's treating him, played by Donald Pleasance. When Rob Zombie did the remake of Halloween, he cast Malcolm McDowell as Dr. Loomis, and he was very different. He was kind of good, they made him kind of like a faithful evolution of the character in the first one, and then in Rob Zombie's sequel remake, he basically said to Malcolm McDowell, just go off the rails, do whatever you want. And Malcolm McDowell was such an arsehole. Anyway, we're getting well ahead of ourselves. So, all right, let me bring it back a little bit then. So, Malcolm McDowell, born in Yorkshire in England, 1943. So, he is an actor with a career spanning over 40 years, best known for controversial films, particularly Caligula. Caligula I saw about 25 years ago, and he plays the Emperor Caligula, who just oversaw a period that was just orgy fest over orgy fest, and the entire film is just a lot of naked people for 2 hours and a lot of violence. Which I saw recently, we were having a drink the other day and we spoke about If very, very briefly. I hadn't seen it at that time, but I've seen it now. It's the film he made before Clockwork Orange, and it's like a critique of public boys' schools. Not even public boys' schools, right? All boys' schools in England at the time. Controversial ending. It's a good companion piece to this one. And obviously, A Clockwork Orange. His versatility as an actor has led to being in very many television shows and different genres. He's been in Star Trek, as I say, he's been in South Park, Entourage, Heroes, Metalocalypse, Tank Girl. You know some of this stuff?
Well, Heroes I used to love as a kid, yeah.
Ring any bells? Him being in Heroes?
Not at all, but maybe if I saw who he was in it, I'd recognise him, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I never watched Heroes, so I don't know. So yeah, anyway, he was born in Yorkshire, working class parents. His mum was owner of a hotel and his dad was owner of a pub. His dad was also apparently quite suffered with alcoholism, and Malcolm McDowell just hated his parents' way of life. His dad wanted to send Malcolm McDowell off to private school very early in life, so he was sent off to a boarding school at age 11, and he was beaten and caned very regularly, which obviously channeled into If. And as someone who went to an all-boys Catholic school, I can tell you that we were not too far out of that era of discipline. What kind of schooling did you have out of interest, Justin, in this country?
Pretty weak. It was just I don't know what are they called? Just normal state. Is it state school?
Yeah, states like
not
normal,
not private, basically.
Not private. No,
none of that.
Was it all boys?
No, it's mixed. Yeah, it was very. I grew up in the countryside though, so it was a very incredibly undiverse place. Yeah,
and not religious, or was it?
I think maybe it would have been. No, I don't think so. I think my primary school was called a Christian school, and they used to try to convert us quite frequently, but yeah, it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't like a full-on Christian school. It was more like I remember every week or so we had to do hymns and stuff. But maybe that's normal of most schools. I don't know.
I don't know, man. I mean, I had my whole thing was Catholicism. Like I was sort of raised that way. I'm
so
absolutely not anymore. But yeah, my secondary school thing was like all boys. We had like brothers that were all over the school that were like take you under their wing.
Huh?
We had a chapel that we would go into every week. Oh, mate, ridiculous state of affairs. And it was all boys as well. So it was like Catholic, religious, strict, all boys. Yeah. And they say that like people who go to all boys schools or all single sex schools basically just don't learn early enough like how to interact with the opposite sex and whatnot. Fortunately, I think I can operate with it. I can communicate with the opposite sex, but like I can totally see how it will just like pigeonhole and tunnel vision certain people. Anyway, I don't know if he went to an all boys school or not, but either way, when he was at school, he decided he wanted to become an actor, and he fell in love with racing cars, and he fell in love with music, and he trained at LAMDA, which apparently is the London Academy of Music and Dramatic Arts. And in order to fund his time there, he started working at his parents' pub. But then the pub went bankrupt because his dad was drinking all the profits. So he had to start working a variety of jobs, from coffee salesman to messenger. He started acting in a film in 1967, a film called Poor Cow. He had a 2-minute scene, which was then cut from the completed film. And then his first actual real big break came when Lindsay Anderson cast him in the role of the rebellious student in his film if. The film catapulted Malcolm McDowell to stardom over here, but it failed everywhere else. And I can totally see that because, as I say, it's very much about like the British schooling system. And it's like super subversive. It has this idea that if you are at a school like that, you are being corrupted internally by that system. So corrupt it right back. And my God, do they. And then very soon afterwards, he was cast in Stanley Kubrick's Clockwork Orange, the role that would give him fame, legendary status, and the reason why we're talking about him today. At that point, I would say that all of that stuff that I've just mentioned, that is what he's famous for. Mm-hmm. It's almost like once Clockwork Orange came along, nothing after that ever held a candle to it. So all his stuff afterwards was just appearances.
Wow.
And in the 80s, he got addicted to alcohol, got addicted to cocaine. He had $1,000 a week cocaine habit.
Man.
All of that addiction took its toll on him, and he ended up just being in B movies. And yeah, he did kill Captain Kirk in a Star Trek film, I think, but that's probably his biggest claim to fame. And after years and years of acting in those films, he finally got his American citizenship in 2021, and now he considers himself an American citizen. And I'm going to ask you something here, Justin, because he said that he despises the UK and the UK's way of life, and he thinks that America is much more liberal, much more no-nonsense, and he much prefers the way of life. That is not too dissimilar to you, I believe. Maybe not despising.
No, but I don't think... I mean, the term liberal is kind of a funny term because that could be interpreted in different ways, but it's definitely obviously not more left-wing if that's what he's referring to as liberal. I don't think it's far off. No. I mean, obviously right now it's an absolute mess, but I would say it's a mess over here. And yeah, I don't like the UK. I want to move. I'd love to live in the States ahead of the UK, but that's more for like the like landscapes and stuff and like the diversity of terrain and stuff, you know? And like the fact that they're all way more into nature than people in the UK are.
Really?
Oh, for sure. Oh my God, yeah. Like the amount of people that go hiking, because there's so many more opportunities to like go hiking and go like doing road trips and stuff like that. As opposed to the UK where it's like, I can't think of anywhere I'd want to go. And even if I found somewhere, it's going to cost me like 500 quid for a one-way ticket on the train.
Yeah, yes, I know what you mean. So like what you're basically saying is you would prefer to be out in America, out in the wilds of America, exploring that terrain, as opposed to, let me swap London for LA. Yeah,
and additionally, the other thing is the music scene in the US, in my opinion, is way better than the UK. I know everyone talks about how amazing London is for music, and I think it's obviously good compared to the rest of the UK, but I think compared to some other countries, it's not, it's not that wild.
What's better about the American music scene?
For me, like genre, I would say one, like there is, to be fair, there's quite a lot of good jazz music at the moment and stuff in London, which is cool. But like, there's just so much more you never hear Americana music, over here, like country playing, folk, really that much like proper folk. I mean, and like blues and like all those mixed together, rock and roll. Nobody plays that live really here. It's more just like either indie rock or neo soul. I like neo soul, but indie rock is not for me.
I get that, and you can get that in the whole expanse of America, as opposed to here, where I guess you're just going to find it in certain areas of like London.
Yeah, I mean the best thing about the UK, I'd say, is like it's like food options for vegetarian vegans and stuff compared to the US, where they do not give a shit.
yeah, I can totally get that. Black Deer Festival, that I think is one of the only festivals over here that just sort of focuses on Americana kind of music.
Oh, cool! I don't know it.
Like nice. It's in Kent. They do it every year.
Nice.
I went to it about 6 or 7 years ago, and it's cool. Like I found an artist, Alexander McKay, just playing to like a crowd of like 10 or 15 people. It's like, oh man, you're so good. I'm still listening to him now. Very good. Check it out. Even if you just go for a day to that, just go for the day. You don't even have to camp.
Nice.
Very good stuff. And I think, so me and you have had this conversation before like when we've just been talking, but it's interesting to me because you and I are pretty, how to say this without being like coming across really like up ourselves and wanky. We're pretty progressive. We're pretty switched on. We're pretty awake to the state of the world.
I'd like to think so.
I think we are, mate. Well, but we would say any two people who share the same visions for things would say that, though, and some people will be completely wrong. Yeah, exactly. We're about to get into some interesting conversations with Clockwork Orange, so this is why I want to sort of set the scene here. Does America, when it comes to a way of life, a way of being, a place to exist, offer greater comfort and options to you than remaining in the UK?
To me specifically, I mean, obviously it's difficult because, like, one, healthcare is not free, so that's massive as it is, right? Two, the rental market is just as fucked as it is in London, in the UK. So there are like so many negatives for sure. I get that, but yeah, there's no one place that I'd actually want to live in the UK. Whereas I can think of like thousands of places in America that I'd like to. So that's my main thing. But politically, like, I just think it's bad for both, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's obviously worse for women in the US than it is for men, for sure. So you have to take that into account. But yeah.
Yeah, as straight white men, we probably have it our pick of the world, really. Yeah. Which is terrible, obviously. We'll get more political in this next section afterwards, I'm sure, anyway. Let me fire off one very specific bit of Frasier / Cheers-related trivia that relates to Malcolm McDowell. He met and possibly married Mary Steenburgen. Mary Steenburgen, who is now married to Ted Danson. And in fact, yes, he did marry Mary Steenburgen because they have 2 children together. And she is now married to Ted Danson. So that is a Cheers connection before we make the Crane connection. He's also a lifelong fan of Liverpool Football Club. So even though he wants to expunge his UK British citizenship, he still wants to hold on to one of the football clubs. You can't have your cake and eat it, Malcolm. You've got to pick which side you're going to be on. Anyway, let's switch focus to the real main event of this episode. Malcolm McDowell, fascinating individual. Go and check out some interviews with him. He's a very eloquent speaker, very interesting guy to hear speak. He has an incredible body of work, but only a few things are really considered great. And I think we're about to talk about possibly the greatest right now, in my opinion. So let's visit, for the first time for you, Justin, a Clockwork Orange.
There was me, that is Alex, and my 3 droogs, that is Pete, Georgie, and Dim. And we sat in the Korova milk bar trying to make up our razoo docs what to do with the evening. The Korova milk bar sold Milk Plus, which is what we were drinking. This would sharpen you up and make you ready for a bit of the old ultra-violence.
Hi there, my little droogies.
The evening's the great time, isn't it, Alex boy?
He's enterprising, aggressive, young, bold, vicious. He'll do.
Okay, A Clockwork Orange, 1971 release. Director Stanley Kubrick, and starring Malcolm McDowell, Patrick McGee, Adrian Corey, and Miriam Carlin. So, such a huge beast of a film. It's difficult to know exactly where to start. I think anyone who knows the film doesn't need a recap of it. And if you haven't seen the film, I don't know what you're doing listening to this episode. You need to go and watch the film and then listen to this, because otherwise this will make no sense. Justin, I don't know. First of all, I don't know how you felt about the film. This is a big bucket list film for so many people. It's the kind of film that it's like, oh, you've got to see that film. You've now seen it for the first time.
Yeah.
overall thoughts. Don't worry, you haven't got to go into the detail and whatnot. Just like generally disappointing, happy. What was the vibe?
It's mixed. And
Okay.
I did actually make like a little list of like positives and negatives. And to be fair, only 2 like negatives I had with it, and one of them is barely a negative. So there's way more positives to it, I thought, than negatives. I was gripped throughout, so that's one thing. Like it held me throughout the whole thing. I've watched a couple of movies recently. Like I said, I've been watching a lot of like horror and stuff. And oh man, they've just have you seen Amityville Horror?
Oh yeah, it's very bad.
Oh my god, terrible. And then the other day I watched The Reanimator. That's rated well, but I was like, this is not doing it for me. So this was like a breath of fresh air, to be honest.
Well, yeah, by comparison, yes.
Yeah, I also I really enjoyed how it looked and how it was filmed. I think I pay more attention to that now, to be honest, than I do like the actual story and acting and stuff.
Yeah.
It wasn't, because obviously it's done by the same person who does The Shining, right?
Yeah. Kubrick.
I was maybe expecting maybe like a little more visually, and maybe a little more like kind of weirdly shot, like almost like psychedelic or whatever kind of like influences upon it. But I still really enjoyed it. I thought it was a nice mix. It wasn't like over the top. You couldn't call it pretentious, I don't think, in regards to how it was shot anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely more positives than negatives overall.
Okay, that's good to know. Well, I think because normally there's so many positives, I'm intrigued by the negatives. So do you mind if we go into the negatives first?
Yeah, sure. So I'll do the really small one first.
Okay.
And this is a really minor thing, but I think so I liked the outfits of like the main guys, right? But I did think the kind of like, in quotation marks, dystopian kind of futuristic style, like clothing and haircuts that you see throughout.
Yeah.
One just felt super dated to like, this is how people think. I mean, I get it. Like, it's off the time. It's kind of hard to know. But like, I also thought it was kind of inconsistent. So like, it seemed that at some points people were dressed in these really wacky things, and then at some points people kind of weren't. But then that could be said for fashion at any point, I guess, really. Not everyone's going to dress the same, right?
Yeah. I guess that's interesting because, like, when you think about even The Shining, the way everyone is dressed in that is super 70s or 80s.
Yeah.
And there's not even an attempt for them not to look that way. They look very much of the time. And yeah, I guess here, what's interesting about you saying that is it's true, especially the haircuts,
Yeah.
But then Kubrick wanted the film to not ever date, because that's why, I mean, obviously he didn't write the book.
Wow. Okay.
Burgess did, but that's the reason for the language they speak, which in the book is called Nadsat.
Mm-hmm.
It's because he didn't want the language to date the film by having young people speaking in the vernacular of the time. So he put that language in. And so while that's kind of been timeless in a way, the rest of, you're right, the aesthetic is kind of dated.
That's so interesting though, changing the way people speak to not date something. I don't know, there's just rarely a time I watch a film and the thing that I'm thinking about that dates it is the language that they're using, you know, unless it's like racist, homophobic or whatever, but like the day-to-day language, I'm rarely like tuning in on that, unless it's like, I don't know, pre-1900, well, not pre-1900s, but like something, if it's like a adaptation of something like a book that was pre-1900s, that could date it. But yeah,
I think it was maybe more because they're like teenagers, and he's like, the way teenagers speak changes so much. So if you've got them talking like that's how they were in like the 70s, it would just date super quick, and he kind of wanted it to be this cautionary tale that would last a lifetime. But you're very right. You're very right about that. The visuals of that, I've always found it very jarring anyway, the way that the Droogs look. Like, I think it's meant to be uncomfortable.
See, I liked how they looked. That was like the one thing I did like, was the the eyelash stuff going on with the main guy. And I don't know, there is something kind of creepy and uncomfortable about how they look, I think.
Definitely, and you're 100% meant to feel that way, right?
Yeah.
You're meant to be uncomfortable, and I think what's super uncomfortable from the off, it's like the earliest shot in the film, but it's probably my favorite shot in the whole film is that look of Alex right from the off of him
100%, yeah.
head tilted down looking up at the camera.
It's the best, yeah.
Very intense. He does that. Kubrick does that shot in every film. Like, do you remember the scene in The Shining when Jack Nicholson he's standing over the model of the maze while his wife and kid are walking outside, and he's standing over the model and he's doing the same look, which is like head tilted down, eyes up. And it's another shot. It's in like Full Metal Jacket and whatnot. I don't even know why Kubrick loves that shot so much, but he puts it in every film, and it's always very intense.
Yeah,
very intense moment.
Yeah, it's a great way to start it.
What was your other negative?
I mean, can you guess to start with? I'm just intrigued because to me, there's something really obvious that I think is not done well.
The acting?
No, okay, no. So I actually really like the acting throughout.
Okay.
But, the thing for me was and I know like it's based off a book, right? So it's going to take from that book, and it's obviously going to change it in some ways and stuff. And I've not read the book, but the amount of like on-screen, quite graphic sexual assault throughout it, it's like I think it's done in a kind of lazy way. So I think I think it's kind of lazy writing, in my opinion, to show a character as bad just by like adding in that they're a rapist kind of thing. Because as like a viewer, I think to some people that could be quite like terrifying seeing that if they are someone who's experienced sexual assault before and stuff. And I'm not saying that means you can't include sexual assault or anything like that, but I think I watched American Psycho recently, and that's obviously also developed from a book, right?
Yeah.
And the director was a woman, and the way they did it in there just seemed way more clever and like sensitive. So they like kind of alluded to things happening. So it's like, it's happened. It still leaves you with this really like dark, horrible feeling, but you then don't have to see the actual physical act basically happening on screen.
Yeah.
And also in that film as well, there's a really cool bit where, because the book apparently is really graphic, the American Psycho. But there's the scene where I think they change it to show like they discover his like drawings, and it's kind of like childlike drawings of like all these graphic sexual assaults taking place, which is I think a way more clever way of doing it, and especially because like it contrasts it with this like kind of childlike drawings that he has of these horrendous things. It makes you feel even more uncomfortable almost without actually having to see it, and then potentially like being really horrible viewing for like a lot of people. And like I'm saying that as someone who's never experienced anything like that, so and it made me feel uncomfortable. So that is my big one.
It's a great point. I agree entirely on that. Actually, as much as I love this film, it's kind of a victim of just how cinema was in the 20th century, and that's not to excuse it, but in the 20th century, particularly, women were subject to violence, rape, whatever on screen. Directed by men, the male gaze all the time. Yeah. And it was normally kind of like when it happened, the fallout from it wasn't how the woman felt afterwards, it was how the men felt. Even in this film, the woman who's sexually assaulted, we don't follow up with her later on in this film. We follow up with her husband and how he feels afterwards. Yeah. And yeah, you're 100% right. That I think, unfortunately, all of it, whether it was this film or the book that it was based on, it comes out of the patriarchal system, which is that you're going to view these things based on how the men feel when they're writing it. And I agree. There's this thing now of people say when it comes to cinema, young people, however they define that, don't want to see sex in films anymore. And I've always said that personally in a way, because I always think it's lazy, it's wasteful, and 9 times out of 10, it's just because a director wants his leading lady to take her clothes off. Yeah,
I don't think it's... I also don't... That's what people say, right? But I don't think it's that young people don't want to see sex. It's that they don't want to see it randomly placed in a film where it has no... Correct. It doesn't further the plot in any way, you know? Yes. And I always wonder as well with things like that. And I was wondering when I was watching this, I was like... I didn't look into it, but I was like... There are so many instances where like women actors are very uncomfortable with what they're being told to do, and they're obviously sometimes in a less powerful position, right? So it's like, yes. Anytime I see something like that in a film as well, I'm instantly, it's not necessarily just fiction, because one, obviously these things happen, but like two, that actor may not have been, I didn't look into it, right, but those actors may not have been particularly comfortable.
Mate, you're 100%. I think particularly now, like post Me Too movement, people are very switched on and aware of it now. Like nowadays, we have the intimacy coordinators on film sets who are present specifically for that. They're like stunt coordinators, but specifically for that, so that everyone involved can feel safe. I mean, when was this? 1971, for God's sake. I dread to think what sort of care and consideration was given on set to some of the actresses. I do know that woman was the second actress to be cast because the first one walked off set. She said, I don't want to do it.
Wow.
I don't know that she was... I don't think the implication is that anything untoward happened. It's just that when she was cast and realised what Kubrick wanted, she said, not for me. And this secondary actress who came in was... I don't know what the term is, but was like very open to whatever Kubrick wanted to do. So it sounds like she was willing to do it.
And I think as well the fact that, because obviously you're referring to one person, and I guess it's the wife of the author, but there's 3 separate cases of it happening as well. 3 different people. Which again, I'm like, is that necessary? Like,
no,
you've really got the point across
right.
that they are rapists and stuff. So do you have to keep showing it in different ways?
So, okay, let's lock in on these points for now. The first time we see an instance of that, it's the other gang are sexually assaulting a couple of women, I think.
Yes.
Or maybe one.
No, just one.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Alex and his droogs swoop in and sort of battle with the other gang, right?
Yeah, not to save her. Just because they want to battle the gang. Yeah.
But that's kind of what's... Okay, as a plot device, it's interesting because it's like, first of all, you think, okay, these are virtuous guys. They're coming in and they're just taking out the other gang because they're attacking this woman. But then it immediately moves on to them sexually assaulting, raping a woman in her home in the subsequent scene. And I think if you take it on face value, if there was nothing, if they did no other criminal acts in this film other than that, I think it's really super easy to say these are awful, terrible people. They're rapists, and that's it. Bottom line. But combined with all of the stuff they do, beating up the homeless man, attacking people, driving crazy in their cars, taking all this drugged up milk, just causing chaos and anarchy everywhere. It feels like it's more representative of a endemic, pervasive nature of crime at that time, and still in this time. More what's the word? More representative than actual. Like, it's not so much that this is the act and you are to judge these individuals. This is what happens in the world all over. They are standing in for things that happen all over the world, which is why, for me, you get away with showing the 2 rape scenes bookended that way. Right, because it's showing the layers and textures. That's not to say that I think that you need to do it, but it's like, well, what's the alternative? You include those scenes, but the women aren't naked, or you don't include the rape scenes at all and allude to the rape.
I mean, I don't see why you couldn't allude, because like I said, just like in American Psycho, they do it, and it left me feeling super uncomfortable, but not uncomfortable. It made me feeling disturbed, but not super uncomfortable by watching it, because you didn't actually have to see it happen, but it happens, so that person is doing that kind of stuff. But yeah, also just the fact that they have to be naked all the time. I don't know, there's obviously extensive nudity. Usually I was actually going to make a comment about it's always the woman, but you basically see the main characters.
Him naked a couple of times, right?
Yeah. So yeah,
there's maybe, and I'm always going to give this film more credit than I might give another film that does something like this. So I'm not just making excuses for it, but I like what you're saying there is that you do see the flip of it, because in the same way that Alex and his droogs strip that woman down in her home before assaulting her, you've then got him at the police station charged with murder, being told to strip, pull your cheeks apart, bend over, touch your toes. Like, he's now being demeaned by the system. So in the same way that he was abusing these people, he's now being abused by the system, and that cycle will just continue. At least there's an offset for it. It's not just, here is this person being abused and we're not even going to address it.
I see what you're saying. I guess for me it was more about probably the actors than the actual story imbalance in terms of that kind of thing. But I see what you're saying.
There is another thing which is uncomfortable, I guess, as well. The scene where it's kind of played for laughs, I guess, where he takes the two girls back from the vinyl shop.
Oh, yeah. Oh, do you find that uncomfortable?
I don't find it uncomfortable, but that was a 25-minute scene sped up to that length of time. And apparently every time that the girls got up to get dressed, Malcolm McDowell would grab them and start undressing them again. Again, there is no implication that he was like any allegations of abuse or anything. It's just that in the role, in the scene, he just kept doing it. And Kubrick was saying, you need to let them get dressed because we need to end this scene. But Malcolm McDowell wouldn't do it.
Again, though, where does that come down to? Like, are we really just taking that as like, oh, well, this is what's right for the actor? Or is it potentially Malcolm McDowell just wanting to continue doing that? I mean, like, I'm not saying, that is the case, but I think sometimes we give people a little bit too much credit about, doing things for the scene and for the acting, especially if Stanley Kubrick is there saying, let's wrap this up.
Yeah, I know. I mean, this is art. This is what art sometimes gets... People excuse things in the name of art.
Exactly,
and I halfway agree sometimes.
I halfway agree. Yeah. No, I think I'm on board as well. I halfway agree with certain things, but I think there are certain things where there should be like a line,
Yeah. But like, if ever there was a film that such scenes and such discussions as this could take place in and around, it's Clockwork Orange, where the whole nature of the film is, okay, these are horrible, terrible people, and now here's them getting their comeuppance, or here's one of them getting their comeuppance, and how do you feel about that? So let me ask you then, Justin, taking that away, or not even taking that away, including what we've talked about, and including the fact that obviously I've asked you to focus on the negatives, but obviously you still have a bunch of positives as well. But taking that away, how do you feel about the fact that we have spent 45 minutes with these guys, watching them do deplorable things, and then seeing what happens to Alex in like the middle act, the Reformation? How do you feel about it all?
It's weird because at some points I don't know, like I don't think he's necessarily had something done to him that is as bad as the things that he's been doing. So I don't think it's like a case of like, oh, now it's it's an eye for an eye or whatever. Not that I believe an eye for an eye is like the correct solution. Obviously, I do like how this film points out the negatives of the prison system, because I mean, I don't know if I mentioned I studied criminology at uni.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, but it's just clear as day. Like factually, the prisons don't work. Like they don't rehabilitate people. They incarcerate people, and maybe if it's a super violent, dangerous criminal, then that could serve a purpose. But for the majority of people, it doesn't work. It usually just makes people worse because they are either around other people or they come out and they have a criminal record, and it's harder to get a job. Basically, no one will employ. So it's. I liked how it made a point. I think it was making an anti-prison point at points, and I like how it talked about a more therapeutic kind of resolution, I guess. Yeah. But obviously, the way they're viewing a therapeutic kind of like quotation mark cure is obviously just ridiculous, but completely based in reality as well. Like I studied psychology at A-level, and we learned about like aversion therapy, which is essentially what's taking place, right? It's when you like in quotation marks treat them by giving them like, I mean, often in real life it would be like a nausea pill that people would take, and then shown like images or being put in situations at the same time as having that nausea pill. So then they feel nauseous every time they encounter this kind of thing, which is like, it's interesting in itself, but it's obviously not a quotation mark, like actually like a cure, you know, because these things aren't innate within people to begin with. It's like usually the result of a failing of society or government or I don't know. That was a long bit. Go on.
No, mate, that was great. I didn't know that you studied criminology. That's fascinating, and with psychology as well. It's a perfect combo. I also think that what I like is that it's showing that all of these establishments that he exists within, whether it's the prison system or whether it's just the world outside, they are all as bad as one another. So every act that Alex was doing with his droogs, essentially, like, I can't even remember who the guy is who's commissioning the Ludwig technique, but he's like a minister for something locally. Right. And he's like, if we do this, the PR will be great. And then when he realizes that everything's gonna be bad PR at the end, he brings him back in. He's like, we need you to be the spokesperson. It's like you in a way, you said it there. You said you weren't sure that anything was eye for an eye, and it isn't. Like, they don't do to him what he did to his victims, but it's everyone on all levels is doing just as bad stuff as Alex is, but they're just kind of doing it on their level. Right up to the point of the two droogs. Like, for me, one of the most, like, the worst moments is like a betrayal, but it's like, well, fucking of course this would happen, is when his two droogs are the policemen. Yes, you're like, absolutely, man.
I was like, this is so real. Like, those two dickheads that you know now, policemen.
Yeah, you know they're police now.
Trying to put across any kind of power or authority they have and abuse it. How do
you feel about and this is the bit that's interesting to me most of all about the film, is if you've got someone who is doing awful things and the alternative so lock them away for life, so they never can come out again, or you infect them so much that if they ever try and do anything of their own volition, they basically crumble up into a little ball.
I think it depends, because you say if they try to do anything, but obviously he was programmed for certain things, right?
Yes.
So I think if the main issue, I think, was they like, let's say, programmed for like not acts of violence, right? Which obviously is terrible, because I think violence in some ways can be a good thing, you know, in the right place.
Setting,
yeah, exactly. So obviously that's terrible, but if it was like somehow people were able to program to be completely unable to commit sexual assault, then I'm down for that.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. But then if you bring it down to the individual, right? Who's making that decision? Who's determining who is and what? Like, bring it right back to systems. People who are like wrongly incarcerated for years for things that they didn't do, who are then given that kind of treatment to the point where, obviously, if you're talking about something like you don't want anyone ever to be sexually assaulted, so you don't want anyone to ever have those impulses, well, of course you treat that. But should you do that if the side effects are that the things that define who that person is suffer? So like for Alex, the explicit example here is for Alex, he cannot enjoy lovely Ludwig. Like, he fucking loves Beethoven, and suddenly the thing, which is, he's all these terrible things, but he adores Beethoven. He gets so much joy and love out of it. And that goes.
No, I don't think that's cool.
I'd be surprised if you did, Justin.
Yeah.
But that's the great question, right? Yeah. Is that if you do treat these people, or if you do something which basically lobotomizes them to an extent,
right? Yeah,
and you are removing some part of what makes them them. Like, you can't just remove the one impulse, surely. You're removing something else with it. True. And if you're doing that, are you not just making them... I'm not saying I agree with it either, but are you not just removing the essence of the person? Like, you remove the bad, but you are removing some of the good and what makes them them as well.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess it depends on where you stand with, like... I don't know, like... It's interesting. I mean, it all depends on like what the actual process is and like the science behind it, right? But there is no science behind it, so it's hard to say.
There isn't. I know.
I see what you're saying though. Yeah, I get it. It's like, yeah, I can see why a lot of people, and I understand completely, if this came into the public right now, right, and people were offered the chance to be like, oh, this person has done these terrible things, we can stop them doing that. It will also stop their like enjoyment of music and their enjoyment of food and stuff like that. I think the public would absolutely love it. The general public, I think they'd go crazy for it. Yeah, I think they'd be like, yep, they deserve to be punished. That's it. But no, I don't. Yeah, I don't think.
The thing that's interesting in the film is that it's not like they force him to do it. After a couple of years in prison, he's the one who's like, oh, I've heard about this.
They don't force him to do it, but they don't explain anything.
True.
So they don't tell him anything. And if he asked, they would not tell him the exact what was going to happen,
Yeah, very true. Very true. What would be the devastating thing for you to lose? Obviously music, you love music, but like what would be the worst song that could come on for you if you were in that situation with your eyes wide open and they started blasting a certain artist?
Should I pick an artist?
Yeah.
I mean, it'd probably have to be the Beatles.
I thought you were going to say Paul McCartney, but I had a feeling it might be.
I think it'd have to be the Beatles. I don't listen to them as much as I used to, but they're just they're too much to me.
Do you know that this is true? This is totally true. That the Rolling Stones were first lined up to be the Droogs in this, and Mick Jagger was going to be Alex.
Do you know the really weird thing about that? Or maybe not, actually, based on you saying that, is when I first saw them as like a bunch in their faces, I thought one of them looked just like Mick Jagger. At the second, I was like, kind of Rolling Stone vibes. Yeah, so that's funny.
It obviously was like a no-brainer for them at the time as well. It fell through, but also the Beatles were going to do the soundtrack. So at one point, Rolling Stones were going to feature and the Beatles were going to do the soundtrack.
That's crazy. That's cool. And to add in my fact that I briefly mentioned to you the other day, David Bowie almost called the so Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. He was originally going to call it the Droogs.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Now, see, doesn't it? It tells you something, right? Like these are all great fucking British bands, and English bands, and solo artists that connect to these awful characters at the heart of the story, which is what's so interesting because. I don't know how you feel, Justin, but this is what I like about the film, is that we've seen them do such terrible things. We've seen them essentially be complicit in the acts that we first started talking about at the beginning of this section. And yet, not the others, but Alex, I like him. Where do you stand?
I get it. There was a point where I almost started to feel sorry for him. And I was like, no, don't feel sorry for him. No, they do that really well. Like obviously in the first half, you're really supposed to hate him, and they do a great job of that because you do. But for sure, after he has the treatment and stuff like that, you do start to like empathize a little bit. Yeah, and you can almost see like where he gets chucked out by his parents, and he's on the street, and it's like raining on him, walking along on his own, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then when he goes to that house of the author, and suddenly realizes that something's up, his face on it, it's like kind of a relatable face, and
it is.
It's
But also, he has this kind of charm to, even before he goes into prison. The language, anyway, I think you either like it or you don't, and I really like the language they use. But because it's so unique, it's almost Shakespearean in the way that he's conducting himself, and because he is the leader of the group, he kind of has a certain charisma you can't help but fall in love with ever so slightly.
What did you do that for?
For being a bastard with no manners. Not a duke of an idea how to comport yourself public-wise, oh my brother.
I don't like you should do what you've done. And I'm not your brother no more and wouldn't want to be.
Watch that. Do watch that, old Dim, if to continue to be on live, thou dost wish.
I get it, yeah, I completely get it. I agree. And I think he was like, I think most of that comes down to the acting, I would say. Like he
100%.
felt like, I would say, the best actor by a fair bit. I don't think anyone was bad in it, but he for sure was like, I mean, he's the main character, obviously, but like he really grabbed my attention in it. And he seemed, like you said, he just seemed like a normal kid in like the last half of it.
Yeah, totally. He did. You're absolutely right. And, you know, think about that. That happens in all countries all over the world so much. How often do you hear about people who were involved in so many criminal elements when they were younger, when they were a teenager, and like in their 30s, 40s, they're like fully reformed. They're doing wonderful things with their life, you know. So it's that, I think the film just challenges you on your own judgments anyway as an individual to be like, yes, look at this terrible stuff. Can you see beyond it? Where do you draw the line about what you think should be done to these people? And can you also see the hypocrisy of the systems who are saying you are evil, so this needs to happen to you? Because it's not just the prison, right? It's almost every adult figure in the film in some way is perverted and fucked up as well, even down to his own parents.
Do you think I was just going to say, I think everything apart from his parents. Do you think his parents are?
I think the parents are in that they... I think the parents are in that they essentially are the real victims of the system, in that they have no drive, no desire, no character of their own, no burning thing. So the one thing I will say, because I don't want to spoil it for you, when in case you're going to read the book, is that in the book it is made clear that the main drive for why Alex does what he does is he can't stand to see people who have no passion or desire or want for something, and his parents are that thing. So even though it's inadvertent for him, it's like you have just become a victim to the state here.
I think that comes across in the film, but only in the very first bit with the guy in the street who has no home.
Yeah,
because they very clearly, he even says basically what you just said, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, as a music man, I know most of the score is Beethoven, but there's original score in that. Like the main theme is like original score. As I know that you're like a singer-songwriter, and just because you like and are interested in a particular facet of music doesn't mean you love all music and whatnot. But how do you feel the score of this film like accompanies it?
Honestly, I really can't remember much of it right this second. I do remember at some point paying attention. There was like a really good use of the synth. I can't remember.
Synth and booming drums are the two main things.
Yeah, I remember that feeling. I remember it feeling really recognizable, like it's been used. Maybe it's just the tone of the synth or something like that. It's definitely been unused on something before. And it's quite interesting as well, because this is, what, 71?
71.
Because I think obviously like film scores and stuff must have been using the synthesizer quite a bit before like musicians really were in like I say musicians, like people in bands and solo artists and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because that really only came about kind of towards the late 80s, but it was also just kind of late 60s, sorry, but it was mostly used kind of in a gimmicky way. It wasn't really used to like make a whole song from. So yeah, it was interesting to hear that, and I was like, wait, when was this filmed? And it was 71. I was like, oh yeah, I guess films were kind of to synths before like bands and stuff, really.
Yeah, I think it's the same composer as The Shining, and The Shining has that synthy opening as well.
Right, that makes sense. Yeah. That's probably where I was recognizing it from.
I love a synth soundtrack. If you've got a synth soundtrack, I'm on board. And if you've got a synth soundtrack and it's by John Carpenter, I'm all the way involved. You're talking about 80s horror films. John Carpenter's synth in an 80s horror film. There are a few better combinations. What about that record store? I loved the fact that it was so fucking weird, because it was like a traditional vinyl store, yet it had this weird futuristic element to it where all the panels and buttons were different colours, they were glowing up, and you could stick certain things in your ear. I liked it.
Honestly, to me, it looked like Camden Market. There's like a couple of vinyl stores in like Camden Market area that looked just like that. So I was like, yep, that actually worked for me in terms of the set.
Do you buy vinyls?
I used to, and then I just started running out of room. It's a very expensive hobby, you know.
It is a very expensive hobby.
Yeah, so
but it's also one of those things like, you know, the more if something has value to it, it doesn't matter too much about the money. Like in the same way that it meant something to Alex, despite everything he was doing, something like that meant something to him. So it was like the one like human thing. It was like the layer. Like, yes, I am this terrible person, but I also like this. Let's come back to your positives that you had. What are some of the positives that maybe we haven't touched on?
Yeah, loads. So I've already mentioned the acting, especially of Malcolm. I think, some of them we've already talked about, but like I like the whole, as I mentioned, like the misunderstanding of like the whole criminal gene kind of thing. I thought that was really interesting. I think I really liked the guy. I actually don't know what his role was. I feel like they didn't make it clear. Maybe they did and I just wasn't paying attention enough. But the guy who sits on the bed with Alex at one point, he says, yes, after everything. He was great. Like he just made me feel so unsettled. And I didn't really even know, to be honest, who he was. Because, who was he?
I originally thought he was like a school headmaster or head of year or
that's
something.
what I was thinking.
But then when he turned up at the police station, it was like he was like a parole officer, but it wasn't clear.
Oh, I see. The parole, that makes sense now.
Some sort of halfway thing between them.
Yeah, but he really gave me the creeps. It was good.
Very creepy. But again, also like someone who is like in whoever he was in some sort of position of authority and was twisted. Very twisted. Like to that point where he is telling Alex that the woman that he caved the head in with the phallic sculpture is dead. He's delighted to be telling him that because he's reveling in the fact that the fucking guy's going to go away for years. He's more happy about that than he is devastated about the death of the woman.
Yeah, true.
But he is incredible, yes. Ridiculous accent.
Yeah, I like it. It's funny. I really like the one woman character who you can probably say is an actual character, really, who has any kind of like agency, which is the when they break into her home and she's the rich old lady who lives doing like the yoga with the cats and stuff. Yes. She was great. She was it was kind of like a breath of fresh air as well. It's like, okay, not every single woman is just like this placid.
Yeah.
Like sexual object.
Yeah, she was sticking up for herself as well. You little shit.
Yeah, I liked it. You almost feared her at that point. I was like almost like, oh, she's actually gonna like bash his head in.
Yeah. That scene when the cats come on, every time I watch it, I forget that there's a lot of cats in that scene, and I always think if you kill a cat, if Alex kills one cat, I don't care what happens to him for the rest of the film. That's where I draw the line. You do all this terrible shit, but if you kill one cat, I'm off. So I'm always grateful that the cats make it out of that scene alive, which is incredible considering there's like 30 of them.
No, I get you. I was watching it with my cat as well yesterday. So
your cat was thinking the same
that
thing,
was not
man.
Been good. I really liked as well the scene when they are like walking along the river. It almost felt like. And the whole like build up to that scene and the aftermath of it almost felt like I was placed in a mafia film when they do the whole like they try to kind of like overthrow him essentially, right, as the leader of the pack.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool. Yeah, I thought that was done really well.
Even that's cool because it's like, you know, revolution, strength in numbers. Like when people get dissatisfied with those above, they're going to rebel. Like rebellion is just throughout the film, regardless.
Yeah, I think it also makes you feel like you've already kind of mentioned as well, like every character in here, it's like, it's not necessarily like they're a good or a bad character, which is cool because like that's not how human beings actually work, right? But everyone here, like you're almost rooting for those guys to overthrow him, but then you think, hang on, actually, they're just as bad, really. We're just not focusing on them, so they don't seem as bad, and it's like, well, why would we want them to overthrow him? So it makes you question like morality in a way, I guess, as well, which is cool.
I always like that when they are waiting for him in his estate and he's coming down the stairs and he's like taken back a bit and he's like, what's all this about?
Yeah.
When he's finally like, okay then, he's sort of humouring them and he's like, all right then, what shall we do? And the first thing they're like is like, oh, let's go to the Moloko bar, have a bit of Moloko. It's like, that's what you always do. This is not new. This is not new stuff. There's no revolution here. You just don't like being told what to do by this guy. And also, I also like, this is another Alex thing that adds the charisma, when they are in that milk bar and the opera singer is singing and then one of the droogs, Dim, I think his name is, just blows that raspberry, and Alex smashes his cane down on him, as if to say, like, act right, like, conduct yourself well. We're in the presence of a respectable woman here.
Yeah, the hypocrisy, bearing in mind the recent scenes as well.
Exactly.
Oh, one thing as well. I mean, you may be getting into it, but another thing I do like is the ending.
Hit me.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, at the start, I was like, excuse me? Sorry, what? You're not just ending there, are you? But then, I mean, I didn't really take a second to think about it. I just Googled it straight away. I was like, the ending to Clockwork Orange. And one thing came up, which I thought was cool. And I don't know if this is the actual reason behind it or not. So, like, I don't think he was necessarily, like, faking... Because obviously, at the end, right, it shows him having, like, a sexual fantasy.
Yeah.
And then what else? He does something else that would allude to him not being cured. I can't remember what it was.
She's doing some word association
they're
stuff.
playing Beethoven as well, though, right?
They are. Yeah.
And he doesn't have a reaction to it, right?
Yes.
But I don't think it's saying that he was never cured. I think it's more like now he is now he's basically like shook hands with the government and the kind of the power that is. He's now immune to implications.
He's
and, like,
made a deal with the devil almost.
Exactly.
There, right?
Yeah. Did you know if that is the actual kind of reasoning behind that?
So, my understanding is that when he jumped out the window and went into the hospital, it was almost like a reset of who he was, like as part of the medical procedure at the hospital. But there's nothing in the film or in the book that says that that's the case. So I actually like your thing more, that by entering into this sort of dirty deal with the government, it is kind of like it's a revert, like evil comes out again. It wins out. It breaks through this aversion therapy. I like that.
I think that's cool, yeah. So when I read that anyway, I was like, yeah, that I think makes a lot of sense. And that's just a cool little, it's nice. It's like kind of a vague ending, but it's not too vague that you can't make anything out of it.
No, and I'll tell you what, that ending is based on the US release of the book. So when the book was released in America, it was released minus the final chapter. I won't tell you what the difference was, but... So that was the version that Kubrick read, and then he made the film. And then when he was making the film, Burgess, the author, was like, "Oh yeah, but there's one more chapter," and Kubrick was like, "I'm not going to include that," because he didn't feel, and the literary agent, when the book was released, was like, American audiences will not accept this ending, so end it as you do. And I agree. I've read the book, and I also agree the ending in the book is kind of good, but it's not a fitting one.
Interesting.
But it possibly brings a little more clarity to that section.
Cool.
Do you like the fact that we've got like that government minister guy who's exploiting Alex, and then we've also got this extreme left writer as well who is exploiting Alex for his own gain? Because before he realizes who Alex is, he's also like unhinged, and he's basically, he doesn't care about him. He just wants to use him as a pawn for his sort of like retaliation against the government.
It was a really interesting character. I was kind of confused about him to start with, because I was like, in the first scene he seems just like a normal kind of dude. When we don't really get much of him in that first scene. Obviously it focuses on the woman, but and there was a point when he had him, I was like, is he gonna like sexually assault Alex now? Is this what's coming? Because he started pulling a really disturbing like faces. Yeah, and he's great at it. He's really really great. But then obviously he had a conversation with someone on the phone about it. I was like, okay, that's cool. So like he's now gonna just use him essentially for his own means. And then when he realizes that Alex is the guy who assaulted his wife, he then kind of goes back on that and does another U-turn and like adds more hypocrisy to his character, where he's like, no, I just want to put this guy in pain now and torture him, I don't want what's best for this cause that I supposedly care so much about. I just want to like damage this guy because he's damaged me. So it's cool. It's there was a really interesting, like, I guess, relationship, if you want to call it that.
Okay, well, listen, there are continued discussions. I could probably bring you back for the next 10 episodes of this, and we could keep covering different areas and whatnot. I guess maybe my last question to you, which is just be interesting to hear what you think, is like, if there's sort of like a message or some hope, not even necessarily hope, if there's a message that people could take forward from this film, or something that you could take from this film that you think is particularly profound, what would it be?
Don't trust anyone. No, like I thought about this. This is one of the first things I was going to write. I was just like making a few notes before, and I was like, what are the themes of this? And I was like, what is the message in this? Like, I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea. I'm like, in some ways it makes some points about like the prison system. It doesn't really follow through with it much. And it kind of makes some points about like therapeutic care, but then does it in a warped way. Mm-hmm. So I guess just maybe, if anything, it's like, don't trust societal structures that have been put in place, because they're all just after you. I think maybe it could be as well, just like, look at society before you look at criminals. Like, that's not none of that's going to stop until we start addressing like actual institutional problems that we don't address and we continue to ignore, and have, and probably will, until the earth burns up. Which is a nice note to end on.
It is a lovely note to end on, Justin. So
I just really feel the need to make a connection.
Well, Niles, I think you've made a connection. It just seems a little bit extreme, though,
That brings us to the point of the show where we have to make a crane connection.
Yeah, isn't this a Frasier podcast?
Yeah, all the way back to Frasier. So, Justin, I'm going to task you with linking Malcolm McDowell's Dr. Brugger, if you can remember way back when we were joking about his ridiculousness, to Malcolm McDowell's Alex. Mm-hmm. I haven't even thought about it, so Justin, hit me. How can we connect these two?
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot to go on for the Frasier one, but the only thing I could come up with is that they are both very sexually charged characters.
Indeed they are.
That's it. He was trying to pursue Ross no matter what Frasier was saying, or trying to cut him off. Likewise, Alex was trying to pursue, I don't know if you want to call it sexual, but, his things.
Yes, he was. Okay, so let us once again say goodbye to Frasier, goodbye to the duct tape green chair, the slightly seedy and creepy Dr. Brugger, goodbye to the cheeky little UK hating, America loving Malcolm McDowell, and goodbye to our little brother Alex, our very own Clockwork Orange. And of course, goodbye to you, Justin. Thank you very much for joining. I knew you were going to be the man to talk about this particular film with me. I very much appreciate the conversation and the discussion, brother. Tell us again where we can find you, what episodes you got coming up. Give yourself a plug.
Sure. I mean, thanks for having me on, first of all. It's been fun. It's been great. I don't usually get a chance to talk about film. And as of late last year, early this year, I've took much more of an interest in film. Cool. Also, thanks to Film Busters as well, has spurred that on.
Another plug.
Yeah. So for me, you can find us on Instagram at record_rotations. You can write in at recordrotations@gmail.com for whatever reason. And then, we're on Spotify. We have recently also gone to other platforms like Amazon, Apple, and the other one that you mentioned, Ben. I can't remember what that's called.
Buzzsprout.
That's the one.
Castbox,
that's it. Yeah, so we're there as well now. But check us out. We've got about 10 episodes out-ish at the moment, or it will be by the time this comes out. And I tried to cover bands from different decades, different genres all the time. So there's a good variety on there, and there's probably an album or a band that you may be interested. So that's it.
Super cool. I'll plug everything in the show notes of this episode as well. So whatever you're listening to this on, have a look at the description. You'll be able to link directly into Justin's podcast, and also his Spotify profile as well, which will link directly through to. Thank you, mate. I very much appreciated this. This was a lot of fun. Just bear with me as I do the segue out of the episode now, where I say thank you to everyone else that's been listening. Thank you for your likes, subscribes, sharing all of that stuff. You can stay up to date with me also by searching for Frasier on Film on all the usual social feeds, and you connect with me on email by contacting FrasierOnFilm@gmail.com. Next week's episode sees Frasier turn 40, which is, as I said before, completely devastating to me because that's the age that I am soon to be turning, and I cannot believe that the way that guy looks is the age that I am. But we won't linger on the negatives too much. We're going to have a whale of a time in the next episode because our guest star for the week is country singer Reba McEntire. And the film we'll be focusing on is one that you all know and love because there's something rumbling beneath the earth. It's big, it's fat, and it's blind. It's Tremors. Justin has left the building.